Hi! This is gonna be a second video about kind of the same theme as my first one, but this time I'm gonna focus more on my own exchange experience. And yes, I have a really hard time with that word. Exchange. This is how the story begins. I was 10 years old or something like that when I first decided that I was gonna move to America. As a 10-year-old, I had never been to America, but I don't even know how that idea entered my mind. It was probably from TV. Kids these days. Anyway, so I was convinced that I was gonna live in America when I grew up. And then at 16, I found out about being an exchange student through some kind of commercial or something like that. And I started doing like obsessive research about it and read like hundreds of blogs. After some crying and some screaming, as the obnoxious teen I was, I still am, I convinced my parents that it was a good idea, kinda. They still didn't really agree with it. But they were like, okay, let's see if we can make this happen. This was almost a year before I actually left. During the winter I got a phone call from EF, the organization I went with, which I do not recommend, by the way. I had not chosen which state I wanted to go to, so I was gonna be completely surprised. So it wasn't my option to go to Utah, which I ended up in. I just didn't care about where I was gonna live. I just wanted to see something that wasn't Sweden. I wanted it to be as different as possible. So before I found out where I was going, I did a lot of research on all of the states, and for some reason I missed Utah because when they called and they were like, hey, you're going to Utah, and I'm like, oh, okay, where's that again? It was like in the southern parts of Utah, in the middle of a desert, in a really small town, literally the opposite to where I'm living today. Yay. I flew over to America at the end of August. It was the worst experience of my life, probably. It wasn't because I was nervous or anything, because I was just mostly excited. I didn't really feel a lot about it. I was just like, okay, let's get through the traveling. The whole travel with all the connecting flights and everything took me about 28 hours, and I managed to not get any sleep, not eat anything, and hardly drink anything for that whole time. So the last flight was horrible. I think I passed out actually, because I don't remember anything from the last flight. That kind of happens when I travel sometimes. I think I'm a superhuman, and then my body reminds me that I'm not, and I feel like I'm gonna die. So eat good and drink a lot of water and sleep. By the time I landed, I was like completely gone. The lady I was gonna live with met me at the airport in the middle of the night, and it was completely dark outside, of course, and it took us about 2 hours to drive to her house. I woke up in the morning and I looked outside the window and I was just like, whoa, what is this place? I just saw these cliffs surrounding the whole town, and it was so extremely beautiful, and I had never seen anything like it before, and I was just like, yes, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna state some of my top experiences with the year, what I enjoy the most. Me and Amelia would like drive around in her little BMW a lot. Sometimes we would take this road called the Loop Road and up in the mountains, and it took us about 2 hours, and it was the most beautiful scenery, and just like scream along to loud music. That was one of my favorite things to do, and we're gonna do that this summer. The second one, in October I went to California with this youth group in the town, so a lot of my friends from school came along, and so we took a bus with other people from all around Utah, and we went to California for a weekend, and it was so intense. We had things to do all the time, and the hotel we stayed at was really nice. We went to the beach, which was the most wonderful beach I have ever been to. Like, the waves were huge. And then we went to Disneyland, which was also amazing. I got to see Cinderella's castle. I did a lot of traveling. I took the chances I got. In April, the history club in my school, they were gonna make a trip to Washington DC and New York and Philadelphia, and I got the opportunity to tag along, and it was with one of my favorite teachers. I didn't know a lot of the girls that went, but some of the guys, so they really like included me in their group, and it was really nice, and I kind of hung out with the guys the whole time. The history trip was one of the best things I did the whole year. I mean, I got to see so much of America's history and all of the monuments in Washington DC, and it's such a nice city, and of course I got to see the White House and stuff like that. And we got a lot of free time too, actually, especially in New York. From Washington we took the train to Philadelphia, chilled there for a day, and saw a lot of more like the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. From there we went to New York and stayed there a couple of days, and that was just unbelievable. That was the first time I ever went to New York. Yeah, I don't even know how to explain it. It was just like so much, and everything was so big. At that point I hadn't seen a big city for like months. I just remember like walking around Times Square in the middle of the night, sitting at coffee shops. We found this huge bookstore that we looked around in. We went to a Broadway play, which was also really great. And I got to see Matthew Morrison from Glee, who's a really good singer. He was the lead role in the play we saw. I don't know, just like talking to New York people. If you have ever been to New York, you understand what I'm saying. You can't really describe New York, you have to see it. I never really get homesick during my exchange year. A lot of people do though. I would just prepare myself for it, honestly. It's better to be prepared to get homesick and then not actually get homesick than the other way around. But I actually almost went home during the winter because, or not really, I don't think I actually would have gone home, but I wasn't comfortable with where I lived, and I felt like no one supported me, especially like the company that I went there with. But of course I didn't want to leave my friends, and I knew there was so much left to do, so I just like endured that, and with help from my friends and support and from my family, I dealt with it. I wasn't counting on it being easy, and if you're going there to get like some kind of taste of the American dream, you're going for the wrong reasons. Like, it's going to be hard. That's kind of a part of it because you are completely on your own. It sounds cliche, but I did grow from it a lot, and I wouldn't change anything even if I could. All of the difficulties I dealt with really changed me, and I like who I am today. It was definitely worth it, all of the good things that came with it. It doesn't matter who you are, an exchange year is going to be hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the most wonderful thing. I just want to add one thing about high school. I know some people that are going to be exchange students, and just something that people in general worry about. When you come to a small town, everyone already knows each other. They have grown up together. So of course it's gonna be hard to just come there and be like, hey, I'm new, be friends with me. That's kind of what I did though. Americans especially are extremely friendly, and they help out and they talk to you. It really wasn't a problem to talk to people and like get to know people, but then to like keep a relationship was harder. But I've told you how I met my best friend. I mean, you have to click with someone to get a good relationship, but the people I hung out with was extremely supportive and nice. And I was very insecure in my English and so on, but they were extremely like nice about it. They made fun of me a lot, like I'm not gonna deny that, they really did, but it came from a good place, I hope. And as I've mentioned before, I'm going back to America to visit my friends for a month this summer, which I'm super excited about. I'm gonna stay 2 weeks in Moab and chill with my friends and just like do the whole Moab thing. They have the most amazing hikes. Like, I wish I could paint you a picture of how beautiful it is there. Me, Ashley, Amelia, Garrett, and probably Nad, maybe some more people, are going on a road trip through Oregon, California, Nevada, and Arizona, and then back, which is gonna take like 2 weeks. That's gonna be a whole nother experience. I will add some pictures to the end of this video so you can actually see like the town I lived in and me and my friends. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and ask questions. Please do. I will happily answer as many questions as you may have about Sweden, America, being an exchange student, you name it. I was thinking about doing a video of just answering questions, but that depends on if I actually get any questions. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed filming this video. It's so much fun to actually talk about stuff I know. Peace.